That was really great. The way we've structured the rest of this session is really a conversation between Hari, you, and the other four presenters who we have here. What we're going to do now is have the four of them reflect on what you've shared. And one of the things I just want to say is that I'll pull up my slide here, the last one that I had presented on about the ecosystem of community power building, because I think some of what you're sharing is very much related to how it all, how all the different functions and processes within community power building relate to one another. And I'd love to kind of bring some of your lessons back into this ecosystem conversation, because I think you talked a lot about both the practical research and the way that you're doing that in working with the groups, the way in which you're engaging those local partners in shared learning, and the fact that, we heard from Latasha Brown and Ai-jen Poo at the outset, the start of this workshop today, about how this is actually also about grounding ourselves in human value, right? And the erosion of human value. And that part of this ecosystem is, yes, the functions and the kind of technological and technocratic ways in which this works together, but so much of this is also about the shared relationships and the ways in which we work together across our different expertise and the different roles that we play. So I'd love to invite Taj, Mimi, Julie, and Ethan to join. Welcome to all five of you in total. So nice to see you all here. The way we're going to do this is we're going to give you each 3 minutes to reflect, and feel free to do a couple of things. Some of the questions that we'd love to hear from you are kind of, what sector or field do you work in? And I think what's so beautiful about this grouping of all of you is that you don't all work in the same sector. We're not all funders, we're not all researchers. We really kind of branch across a variety of sectors and really across the ecosystem of power building as well. So I'd love to hear, what sector or field do you sit in right now? Where do you see your work within the ecosystem? And share one idea that Hari shared that might have resonated with you or your experiences, any other ideas that come to mind as well. And then, given who our audience is, for those of you listening, please feel free to share questions as you're hearing from all of us. I'm going to bring those in and try to incorporate them through this conversation. So we'll start with you, Ethan, and then move to Mimi, Julie, and then Taj, and we'll then come all back together and connect all these dots in a beautiful way, I'm sure. So Ethan, I'm going to turn it over to you. Looking forward to hearing your reflections.
Great. Thanks, Aditi. Hi, everyone. My name is Ethan Frey. I use he, his pronouns. I work as a program officer at the Ford Foundation, as Aditi mentioned, on our Cities and States team. I came to Ford after cutting my teeth in my 20s as a political and labor organizer, trying to win workplace and electoral campaigns. And at Ford now, I lead a grant-making initiative focused on supporting people of color-led multiracial coalitions seeking to build statewide governing power. So why are we focused on states? Just to say a second about that. So, from states' rights to Reagan's devolution revolution, U.S. states hold increasing political and economic power over communities that is often out of reach for grassroots community organizers. States also love to usurp community control over all kinds of issues, from minimum wage to Medicaid expansion to various rights protections for vulnerable communities. So for communities to have power over their own communities, they also have to have power over their state governments. So how do grassroots organizations build power at the state level? That's one question that we're really focused on. And we've done some work with Hari and Aditi and others on that question, and Julie too. So as Hari mentioned, there's considerable academic research that shows how policy is downstream from power. You can change policy, but if you don't address the underlying power dynamics, the policy will bend back to initial conditions. So to create the conditions for a durable, lasting change in states, the focus of our strategy is to rearrange and reorganize the social relations of power in states. To do something like that at a state scale requires something that looks like the flower power that Aditi showed, that the team from USC has put together. For us, we're supporting these multiracial coalitions led by and accountable to organized constituency groups who also have the ability to align other forces and capacities in their ecosystems around a shared strategy. We're supporting this work in 6 states right now: New York, Michigan, Minnesota, Texas, Louisiana, and Florida. And in many places, they're working to operationalize through their strategy and learning new kinds of infrastructure and build new kinds of infrastructure. But they're really building from some of the frameworks that Richard Healy mentioned in earlier sessions, which are tricky. I think maybe just one thing so that's a bit about what I do at Ford, and maybe just one thing to build on other things Hari has said. I think given our focus on the state scale and affecting change at the state scale by partnering with and supporting grassroots organizations, I think clarity about strategy and the power shifts that they are after is really important. And as Richard Healy and iGen and others have talked about, the kind of power that grassroots organizations are trying to build. They're trying to build power to move in the narrative arena, to shape policy through state legislatures, to move on a number of fronts, and to have clarity about how you want to shift power in those domains, and to build the capacities within your organization to actually measure and learn from the changes you're affecting in those different domains is really tricky. And I feel like a lot of times the pressure that funders put on organizations or that political donors put on organizations is to measure the easily measurable stuff like, contacts or, certain activities that can often be disconnected from community organization strategy. So just want to say that really focusing on their strategy and the power that they want to build, and being a good partner with them in that, is something I wanted to lift up, and I'll pause there.